The mind is a vast and uncharted territory. It is a realm that we all possess, yet few of us truly understand. Within this boundless expanse lies the essence of who we are, a complex tapestry woven from our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. It is a landscape of thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Each moment, our minds are filled with a myriad of experiences, some fleeting, others lingering. These experiences shape our perceptions, influence our actions, and define our reality. Like an untamed wilderness, it can be both exhilarating and terrifying. The mind can be a place of great beauty and inspiration, where creativity flows like a wild river and ideas bloom like flowers in a dense forest. But it can also be a place of shadows and fears, where doubts and anxieties lurk like predators in the underbrush. We often find ourselves lost in this inner world, tossed about by the relentless waves of our own thoughts. In these moments, we may feel like solitary travelers, wandering through a vast and unfamiliar landscape, searching for a path that leads to clarity and peace. For many, the mind feels like a battlefield. It is a place where conflicting thoughts and emotions clash, creating a storm of inner turmoil. The struggle to find balance and harmony can feel overwhelming, like trying to navigate a turbulent river during a storm. We are constantly bombarded with worries, anxieties, and fears. These mental intrusions can leave us feeling drained and defeated, as if we are fighting a never-ending battle against an invisible enemy. Our thoughts race and spin, pulling us in countless directions. The mind can be a whirlwind of activity, with thoughts swirling like fast-moving clouds or a rushing river, making it difficult to find stillness and focus. We long for peace, but it seems elusive, always just out of reach. The desire for tranquility is a common thread that runs through the human experience, yet achieving it often feels like chasing a mirage in a desert. But what if I told you that there is a way to find peace within? What if the serenity we seek is not a distant dream, but a reality that we can cultivate within ourselves? What if I told you that you can learn to navigate the uncharted waters of your mind and discover a place of profound stillness and clarity? This journey is not about escaping the challenges of life, but about embracing them with a new perspective. This is the journey of mastering the mind. It is a path that requires patience, practice, and perseverance. By learning to observe our thoughts without judgment, we can begin to understand the patterns that govern our inner world. It is a journey of self-discovery, of facing our inner demons, and of learning to cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. Through mindfulness and meditation, we can develop the skills needed to navigate the complexities of our minds, transforming our inner landscape into a place of serenity and insight. This journey is not a destination, but a continuous process of growth and understanding, leading us to a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. Let me introduce you to Alex. Alex is a young man who, like many of us, struggled with his mind. He often found himself lost in a maze of thoughts, unable to find a way out. Alex is a young man who, like many of us, struggled with his mind. His days were filled with a constant barrage of worries and fears, each one more overwhelming than the last. He felt trapped in a cycle of negative thinking, unable to break free. His thoughts were a constant source of stress and anxiety. Every decision, every action seemed to be accompanied by a nagging doubt or a fear of failure. It was as if his mind was his own worst enemy, always ready to sabotage his peace and happiness. He felt like he was on a hamster wheel, running and running, but getting nowhere. No matter how hard he tried to escape his thoughts, they always seemed to catch up with him. It was exhausting, both mentally and physically. Alex worried about the future, regretted the past, and struggled to find joy in the present moment. His mind was constantly racing, jumping from one worry to the next, never allowing him a moment of peace. He felt like he was living in a state of perpetual anxiety. His mind was a battlefield, and he was losing the war. Every day was a struggle, a fight to keep his head above water. He felt like he was drowning in his own thoughts, unable to find a way to calm the storm inside his mind. He longed for peace, but he didn't know where to find it. He tried to distract himself with work, with hobbies, with anything that might take his mind off his worries, but nothing seemed to work. The peace he sought always seemed just out of reach. One day, Alex stumbled upon the idea of mindfulness. He read about how it could help him calm his mind and find peace in the present moment. It sounded too good to be true, but he was desperate for anything that might help. He read about the benefits of meditation and how it could help him calm his mind. The idea of being able to control his thoughts, rather than being controlled by them, was incredibly appealing. He decided to give it a try. Intrigued, Alex decided to give it a try. He started with just a few minutes of meditation each day, focusing on his breath and trying to let go of his thoughts. It was difficult at first, but he was determined to stick with it. He knew he needed to find a way to escape the prison of his own thoughts. He began to notice small changes in his mind and body. He felt a little more relaxed, a little more at peace. It was a slow process, but he could feel himself starting to change. Little did he know that this decision would be the first step on a profound journey of self-discovery and transformation. As he continued to practice mindfulness, he began to understand his mind better. He learned to observe his thoughts without getting caught up in them, to let go of his worries and fears. It was a journey that would change his life forever. The first step on Alex's journey was to become aware of his thoughts. This was not an easy task, as it required him to slow down and really pay attention to the inner workings of his mind. He had to create a space where he could observe his thoughts without getting caught up in them. He began to pay attention to the constant chatter in his mind, noticing how it was always there, like a background noise that he had never really tuned into before. This chatter was filled with a mix of mundane concerns, random musings, and deeper, more troubling thoughts. Observing his thoughts without judgment was a new experience for Alex. He had always been quick to label his thoughts as good or bad, right or wrong. But now he was learning to simply notice them, to watch them come and go like clouds passing through the sky.
I noticed how often my thoughts were negative, filled with worry, self-criticism, and fear. It was surprising to see just how much of my mental energy was spent on these kinds of thoughts. I realized that I had been living in a state of constant anxiety without even being fully aware of it. Self-criticism was a particularly persistent theme. I would often find myself replaying past mistakes, berating myself for not being good enough, smart enough, or successful enough. These thoughts were like a heavy weight that I carried with me everywhere I went.
This awareness was initially unsettling. It was like shining a light into a dark room for the first time, revealing the dust and cobwebs that had been accumulating for years. Alex felt a mix of discomfort and curiosity as he began to see his mind more clearly. It was like shining a light into a dark room for the first time, revealing the dust and cobwebs that had been accumulating for years. This metaphor captured the essence of what Alex was experiencing. He was uncovering parts of himself that had been hidden away, neglected and ignored. But Alex knew that awareness was essential if he wanted to change his relationship with his mind. He understood that he couldn't change what he wasn't aware of. This realization gave him the motivation to keep going, even when the process was challenging.
I learned that thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. They come and go, and they do not define me. This was a powerful insight. It meant that I didn't have to be a prisoner to my thoughts. I could observe them without getting swept away by them. They come and go, and they do not define me. This understanding brought a sense of peace. I realized that I could let my thoughts pass by without clinging to them or pushing them away. It was like watching clouds drift across the sky, knowing that they would eventually move on. I realized that I didn't have to believe every thought that popped into my head. This was a liberating discovery. It meant that I had a choice. I could decide which thoughts to engage with and which to let go of. This gave me a sense of control over my mind that I had never felt before.
This simple realization was a revelation for Alex. It marked a turning point in his journey. He began to see his thoughts as just one part of his experience, not the entirety of who he was. This shift in perspective opened up new possibilities for how he could relate to his mind. It gave him a sense of hope and empowerment. He felt like he was no longer at the mercy of his thoughts. Instead, he could choose how to respond to them. This newfound sense of agency was incredibly empowering. He could choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let go of. This practice of mindful awareness became a cornerstone of Alex's journey. It was a daily practice, a commitment to being present with his thoughts without getting lost in them. Over time, this practice brought a sense of peace and clarity that transformed his relationship with his mind. Section 4. Finding Ground, the practice of meditation. To further cultivate this awareness, Alex began a daily meditation practice.
I started with just a few minutes each day, focusing on my breath. I noticed the rise and fall of my chest, the gentle sensation of air entering and leaving my nostrils.
At first his mind would race, pulling him away from his breath, but Alex persisted, gently guiding his attention back to the present moment.
I learned to observe my thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them.
As he continued to meditate, Alex began to experience moments of stillness and clarity.
I found that the more I practiced, the easier it became to quiet the chatter of my mind.
Meditation became his anchor, grounding him in the present moment and providing a sense of peace he had never known before. Section 5. Weathering the storm, facing inner resistance. Alex's journey was not without its challenges. There were days when his mind felt like a raging storm.
Doubts and fears would arise, threatening to pull me back into old patterns of thinking.
He discovered that the more he tried to suppress or ignore these difficult emotions, the stronger they became.
I realized that I needed to face them head-on, to acknowledge their presence without judgment.
Alex learned to sit with his discomfort, to observe it with curiosity and compassion.
Emotions, like thoughts, are fleeting. They arise, linger for a while, and then eventually fade away.
Through this process of acceptance, Alex began to develop a new relationship with his inner world.
I no longer feared my emotions, but saw them as valuable messengers, providing me with insights into my deepest needs and desires.